All right, so Blyberry in the Symbolic World on the Symbolic World platform says, "Hi, Jonathan. I recently watched a short clip of the Gay Pride Parade in Sydney. There was a group of participants all wearing angel wings. I've noticed angel wings often in gay parades. What is the symbolism of angel wings in this context? It seems inverted. Thanks." There is a trope in rainbow culture, which is the confusion of transcendence and transgression. I've actually, I think, made a video about this, or I've at least talked about it, that transgression and transcendence are not the same. Sometimes they appear the same, but you can't limit one to the other, you know. And it's related in some ways between the difference between something which is truly androgynous and something which is hermaphroditic, and transcending categories, right? Truly transcending categories. So angels are non-gendered beings. And so what happens is that the rainbow types is that they see the non-gendered aspect of the angels and they try to apply it to trans, queer, and things that break gender rules and break gender stereotypes or break or gender fluid, all that kind of stuff. But they are confusing transcendence with transgression. That is, there's a difference between transcending something and confusing something. And what happens in a lot of the rainbow stuff is that it's actually mixture and confusion and incoherence. And so you see that, of course, in the idea of the hermaphrodite as an image of a being that represents just a kind of confusion of both sexes, whereas the notion of androgyny is the idea of transcending gender. And so you can imagine that, you know, monks, saints aspire to a form of androgyny because they want to be like the angels and transcend their gender, but they don't do it through confusion and through transgression, you know. In fact, you know, they do it through their gender, right? So monks will, in some ways, be male, you know, and they will move in their masculinity towards a transcendence, you know. And so, yeah, you know, that's what I would say. There are examples, of course, of places where transgression and transcendence go together. And so there are, of course, famous, all kinds of examples of women who were able to hide in male monasteries and pass off as men and live their entire life as monks. And then ultimately, you know, at least whether or not these are true or whether they're legends, it doesn't really matter. They kind of exist and swirl around the Christian circles. And this is an example where, in some ways, a kind of transgression leads to transcendence. But you can see the characteristic is that the woman doesn't try to use that play to have a kind of sexual game, doesn't make it into a sexual thing, doesn't make it also into a activism, doesn't make it into a comment about societal structures, but rather, you know, moves in a secret manner in that direction, and then ultimately is able to live a life of asceticism. So, you know, but hopefully you can tell the difference. You know, I want to be honest and say that there are examples of this motion, you could say. You see it in characters, of course, like Joan of Arc and other characters like that, where there is this kind of motion, but it's usually it's definitely not coined in kind of sexual terms.